Well, what's driving the housing market post-election, and where are we headed? Well, nationally, the inventory of homes for sale is up 28% year over year, which means more choices for buyers. And of course, here in my local markets, we're seeing about the same percentage. Here we're seeing 28.6% increase year over year for single family in Sarasota County to 4.5 months worth of inventory. And of course, a decrease of the median price to $490,000. Now, condo inventory in Sarasota County is up 42.1% to almost 5.5 months worth of inventory. And again, a decrease in the median price to $380,000. In Manatee County, inventory of single family homes increased 34.5% year over year to 3.9 months worth of inventory. And again, a decrease in the median sales price to $470,000. And with condos in Manatee County, inventory increased, listen to this, 81.8% to 6 months worth of available condos for sale. And also, again, we're hearing a trend here, a decrease in the median price to just under $320,000. So you're starting to see a little bit of a trend here. In Manatee and Sarasota counties, I've been saying this for the last few months, we are seeing slight decreases in home prices, both single family and of course in condos as well. Now keep in mind that except for condo inventory in Manatee County, our markets here in both counties, Sarasota and Manatee, are still considered a seller's market because inventory amounts are still under 6 months. So for single family in Manatee and Sarasota County, and of course condos in Sarasota County, we are not seeing a balanced market yet. And that's what this chart explains here, that 6 months is a balanced market. So even though there's more budge in prices from both resale sellers and new construction sellers, the market here is still considered a seller's market with lower amounts of inventory, well, except for those condos in Manatee County. So if you're looking for a condo in Manatee County, now might be a really good time, which means that we will likely see home prices stay steady. There's not going to be huge increases, but there's not going to be huge decreases either. But I also need you to keep in mind that our markets here on the Gulf Coast, we also do not experience the same seasonality that many of you do in other states. Of course, you know why. It's because our winter months here, well, we enter in what we call season, which is our strongest tourist and snowbird traffic. So as they typically do when those snowbirds and those tourists travel down here from about January 1st to about Mother's Day, then they start heading home. A lot of that available inventory of homes is going to be gobbled up, no pun intended, I know it's almost Thanksgiving, and we're likely going to continue to experience lower inventory levels under that balanced 6-month mark. So it's just really simple supply and demand, right? The more buyers we see in our winter season, the more inventory gets sold. The prices could likely increase, which is kind of common here during that time. So again, not by huge amounts, but still we could see a slight increase. Of course, time is going to tell, and that's why many of you are coming down before the end of this year to take advantage of all of the builder year-end pricing because they like to have their inventory off their books. And of course, because you guys watch the market down here, you're watching this YouTube channel, and you already know that prices typically increase here at our highest tourist season during snowbird season when the tourists come in January. So you're watching this, and that's why a lot of you are coming down here now to take advantage of the good deals you can get for new construction. Even resale sellers at this point, because The market is taking longer to sell, so there are some really good deals to be had, and that's why you're coming down here, and you're also getting great incentives on some of these deals. So keep that in mind if you're looking for something and you don't want the prices to kind of edge up in the new year. Maybe you want to take advantage of something now. It's been great working with a lot of you. So if that's you and you're curious about what's happening at the end of the year here, this is common for us every year. We see many builders trying to get certain inventory homes off the book so they can start the new year fresh. If that's you and you're curious, just give me a ring and we can chat about what you're looking for. Now, before we jump into the dreaded mortgage rate information, I'd really appreciate if you'd like this video, if you found value in this, and subscribe to this channel so I can continue to keep you updated on our local markets here in Manatee and Sarasota. Let's go ahead and dive into mortgage rates. As you've seen, the 30-year mortgage rates are back near 7%. Some are even a little above. And of course, that causes affordability issues for buyers, right? Because it's really tough right now to think about making a move. Christmas is coming, the goose is getting fat, got to buy presents, got to buy food and all that stuff. But rates are lower than they were this time last year when they were about 7.58%, and certainly lower than the 8.03% we had as the peak on October 19th a year ago. But rates are higher than we were on September 11th of this year, 2024, where they were at 6.11%. I can tell you, all of my buyers that went under contract in September during that time where they kind of dipped back down, man, they are loving life, living their best life. They're so glad they made that decision to go ahead and lock in when they did, now that rates are higher. So last month, we saw an increase of buyer activity, right? Because the rates went down a little. But man, when those rates started to shoot upward during October, well, that buyer activity, well, it went a little dormant. And understandably so. And because there's recent conflicting data on the strength of the job market, and of course there's limited progress on inflation, we saw the 10-year Treasury yields rise to nearly 4.5%. Nonetheless, the Fed did stay the course, cutting short-term rates by 25 basis points, well, of course, 2 days after the election, which did not this time translate to lower mortgage rates. Typically they do, but this time, womp, womp, they did not. So, what will the Fed do at the next 2 upcoming meetings? Well, of course, you know, as it always happens, the experts are projecting what's going to happen at the next 2 meetings. They say on December 18th, the meeting, that there's a 79% probability of another 25 basis points cut and a 21% probability that they will keep the rates as they are. And then on the January 29th meeting, they say there's a 60% probability that the Fed will stay on hold. They're going to keep them even. They're not going to drop them. Only a 25% probability that they'll do another 25 basis points cut. So remember, these Fed points that they cut, they don't necessarily translate into lower mortgage rates, but they do make a difference. Again, except for the one they just took, that one actually made the mortgage rates go a little higher. And I think that's just the volatility of the new administration coming in and that sort of thing. So if you are
wishing and hoping and thinking and praying
that rates are going to go a lot lower in 2025, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what the rate projections are from all of the big daddy voices out there in the mortgage world. They're predicting that rates will go lower, but they're going to stay in the 6s. Well, what about pricing? Well, pricing, they're all agreeing. Some are agreeing more, some less, that home prices nationally are going to continue to rise on average about 2.5% throughout 2025, which is good for those of you that have bought in the last year or so. You're still going to see appreciation on your home, and that's really great. But if you're thinking the prices are going to drastically drop, I don't think we're going to see that. We are seeing decreases in prices that I've been telling you here in Manatee and Sarasota County, but we're not seeing huge decreases. Again, it's the end of the year for many builders, the end of their fiscal year, and they are offering some deep discounts. But if you're concerned that the rates are going to drop a lot, to that 5% so that you can finally grab something, it's just not going to happen. No one is predicting that. I'm not saying it could never happen. I mean, stranger things have happened, right? Stranger Things. What a great show. But anyway, yeah, so stranger things have happened, but none of the data points to that, especially since we still have lower inventories nationally. The National Association of Realtors, they see mortgage rates easing again, like everyone else, to around 6% in 2025. And they think it's going to boost the total transaction volume for existing and new construction 11% year over year in 2025. And they believe by 8% year over year in 2026. So basically, home prices are forecast to rise just 2 to 2.5% annually as supply and demand becomes more balanced. And they all agree that job gains in both years, 2025 and 2026, will be around 2 million. Of course, we have to keep in mind, we have to keep our eye on the inventory levels, not just nationally, but of course, you need to watch your local market inventory levels as well. Now, I've already said that other than condos in Manatee County, the available single family and condos in Sarasota County and single family homes for sale in Manatee County are still below a balanced market. So even though it's true that new construction building seems like it's out of control, especially in our counties, I'm not sure what your location looks like, but here we've got a lot of new communities coming on the scene. I'll be sharing all of those new communities really soon. But they're right here where we live, it appears that there's too much building going on. But in reality, builders are really just catching up. So if you see this chart here, you're going to notice that leading up to the Great Recession of 2008 to about 2013, builders had 4 consecutive years of record-setting building units. So a lot of places, a lot of houses to buy before that crash. Then the crash came and building all but stopped across the country, and we experienced 15 years of underbuilding. Now again, that's different for each market across the country, but here in our markets, we're still seeing lower inventories, lower levels of inventory than we've seen before. Again, we're seeing them kind of almost get up to a balanced market. So that's why we keep hearing that there is a housing shortage. And that's also why we're still seeing prices increase, even if it's just a small amount lately. But affordability, of course, is an issue nationwide. So remember what I share with you about our local counties. For condos in Manatee County, 6 months worth of inventory. Great time to buy a condo. Got to be really strategic though, because we have new condo rules and laws and things going on with condo insurance and blah, blah, blah. Be happy to share that with you on a phone call. But if you're looking for single family in Sarasota, of course, they're almost getting to a balanced market as we sit right now in November. But if you're looking in Manatee County, we're only at 3.9 months worth of supply. So blah, 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 that's a lot to say in a mouth. Blah, blah, blah. We are only at 3.9 months worth of supply. So we're still kind of a seller's market, as I said before. But again, remember, as we get into our season, snowbirds, tourism, that sort of thing that happens in January, they're going to eat up all that inventory. So I think we're going to start to see our prices in Manatee and Sarasota edge up a little higher. Builders are going to test the waters the first quarter of the new year, 2025. And of course, with the new administration coming in, they want to test those waters as well and see how things are going. So we're going to sit back, kind of watch the panoramic movie view of all that's going on. But I really think that we're going to see a little bit of increase, and I think we're going to still be dealing with lower inventory levels in 2025. Emily's here in Manatee and Sarasota County. And you know, concerning that 15 years of underbuilding, you also have to take into account the COVID years, right? Because there were about 2 years there where things stopped. Now, obviously, you all know in Florida, we were one of those states that kind of got back at it. And I was thankful that we were able to go back to work sooner than sooner than many of you experienced maybe in your state. But we were open a little earlier, and we got back to building more housing units. So if you're in one of those states where it was closed a lot longer, then here we go again with a lack of building. And that kind of just threw a wrench into the whole thing. And we still have lower inventories of homes nationally. So if you are in the market to sell, wherever you are in the country, you really need to make sure that you work with your real estate professional to price your home at market value for whatever is common in your local market. If you're a seller here in these areas, remember that prices have decreased some year over year. And remember, anywhere you are, that buyers do have more choices, even though we are not yet where we are in Manatee and Sarasota. In our counties, we're still not at a balanced market. Remember too, sellers, that builders are offering great prices and incentives right here in our local areas. And that makes for big competition for resale sellers who, of course, their pockets aren't as deep. So sellers, have your homes in move-in condition, or make sure you price it to reflect the need for any kind of improvements. Now, if you are a buyer, you really have to know your financial situation really, really well. Is now a good time for you to take advantage of lower prices, even though the rates are still slightly higher? Or do you wait for slightly lower rates in the new year, but the chance of higher home prices? And of course, that might decrease your purchasing power. So only you can determine your situation with the help of your professional real estate agent. So if you're unsure, and many of us are always unsure about that situation, make sure to reach out to a professional in your local area and have them talk you through your options. Remember that buying a home is always a risk because it's almost impossible, as you know, to time the market. So don't go it alone. There are a lot of really great experienced agents out there who can guide you through the process. And if you're in my local markets here on the Gulf Coast and you'd like to chat about maybe your buying or your selling situation, I'd be so honored to answer any questions that you have. Maybe you're looking for specific answers. You need me to get you some information. Anything that I can get you to help you make an informed decision. So thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and leave your comments below if you have maybe any topics that you'd like me to cover. I'm Catherine Newman. I look forward to seeing you next time. See you then.